Tell me about approaching making a plan, because the people out there are listening, or you're seeing and listening to you. And I can hear them saying, look, I've just lost my business. I've got no money. And this like fit looking guy, you know, who likes going to gym, so which I naturally don't like you for that. This fit looking guy wants me to make a bloody plan. What can we say to them?
Well, and it sounds cliche, build a plan, right?
Yes.
Just think of it as there's a revenue part of your plan. Where are you going to get sales, right? There's an expense part of your plan. How do I cut expenses and get leaner? There's a cash part of your plan, right? How do I make sure I optimize cash? So when you break it down to its pieces, think of it this way. Imagine if you were running a charity event that was really important to you. And the charity event requires a venue, and it requires ticket sales, and it requires entertainment, right? And things went wrong. You would execute on all those pieces to try to get it right. And so what I mean by building a plan is you break it down into these pieces you have to optimize: revenue, expense, cash, people. And you say, what am I going to do in each of those areas? And how do I spend all my time trying to align to that?
And could we add to that plan, don't be frightened to pivot?
I mean,
because sometimes they say, look, you know, you might have had that 5 cents and what all those other things, but I haven't got those. It's collapse. And you know, financially very difficult. So what can you do if you haven't got something? You've lost everything there. You actually, you know, hopefully you're not losing your home, but many people can do that. What advice for that plan? How do you approach that?
So even, Larry, when you're not in a collapse situation, even when you're starting, right, I think pivots are overrated. I think a lot of times, I really do, because I think anytime you do something different, right, you're going to face resistance, right? It's going to be too big, too small, too pink, too red, too expensive, right? And so if you haven't really thought about, you know, why am I going to win? Right? At Lonely Entrepreneur, we call it finding a playground where nobody else is playing. Right? How do you define it? If you haven't done that, you end up pivoting a lot, because you go here and it's hard. You go here and it's hard. It's always going to be hard. If you're just selling another toothbrush, everybody knows what a toothbrush is, right? But if you said to somebody, you're going to get into a stranger's car and they're going to take you somewhere and you're going to pay them. You'd be like, that's a crime spree. That's not a business, right? So the day before Uber, right? There's no market for Uber. So I think a lot of times people end up pivoting because they haven't really said, what is my playground where I really win? And so they kind of go after it, and then they face resistance and go, okay, I'm going to sell to customers whose names start with the letter A. Great. I go over there. They say it's too big. Great. I'm going to now go to customers with the letter B. And so I think a lot of times the fundamental work of finding your playground and where you really win hasn't happened.